you doing?
He's doing really good.
He just got back from Norway.
Norway?
Yeah,
What's a Marine doing in Norway?
They're training for something.
Secret?
I don't know what it is.
Top secret, huh?
Yeah.
Hashtag classified mission.
Yeah.
What's your sister in?
She's in Germany.
I know
Army, I think, right?
What's that?
Tammy, I need the
Her
charger.
sister.
Yeah, I know, I heard that earlier, but is it in the Army? Yeah, that's
Okay,
very good.
are you taking
Anyway,
it?
well, you
Yeah,
I'm not giving it to you though.
I know.
Okay.
you can you get where you can come out of the service and have your education funded from being in the service. So,
The GI Bill?
well, there's a GI Bill, but there's lots of, you sign up, you get a sign up bonus, and it's like X number of dollars towards your education. So you can get your schooling paid for that way. So there's a lot of good benefits for being in the service. Anyway, that was a long tangent I got off on. You opened up my brain. What's there?
Another one was, what was it like as a mailman?
Well, when I was carrying, I didn't have a regular route. I would just have to carry a different route every day. So in Fort Worth, as I said earlier, the economy was much different than California. So in Fort Worth, the routes were much longer, and the volume of mail that each person would get in the areas that I lived in. I carried out of the main station downtown Fort Worth, and there was either two types of routes. One is a business route and one is a residential route. Well, I only worked the residential routes. The business routes, in those days, the business routes had 4 deliveries a day. They'd deliver early morning, they'd come in and get the mail ready, they'd make a delivery like in one building, they'd come back and get some more mail ready, different kinds of mail, they'd go back and deliver, they'd come back and they'd get the mail that had to be signed for, and they'd go out and deliver that. And even in around the houses, there were 2 deliveries a day in residential area. But the routes were real long, and they didn't have a lot of mail on them, so it was like walking up to 10 to 15 miles a day on a route. That was very common. You have like a half hour or less
This is the address.
to get ready, get the
It's
mail ready to
Concord
go.
Mills.
And then you take the mail out and you put mail in little sacks, and the sacks were delivered to street boxes. Green, you still may see green boxes around, but I don't think so. They would be green boxes out, and a carrier would have a job delivering those bags. And so you'd get out of your route with 1 bag of mail, and you'd come up to a place where you'd run out of mail. Well, there would be a container there. You'd open up the container and get the mail out of that for the next loop of your route. And so that was the way it was carried back then. That was in Fort Worth. In California, the routes were not near as long. They had a lot more volume, and like I say, I could finish the routes I had in no time at all. They were real fast to do. I'm having a heck of a time. I'm getting off on these tangents, Zachary. Well, I guess that's basically the way the carrier worked. And you have what's called registered and certified and insured mail that you have to have people sign for. The registered mail you had to keep with you all the time. That's something that would have high value, or mainly high value, and you would have to. It was signed for all along the route. When a person would bring it to the counter and have it registered, well, the clerk would have to sign for it, and then the clerk would give it off to somebody else who would put it in the safe, and they'd have to sign for it, and then it would be picked up and taken out to the person handed out the mail, and they'd have the carrier sign for it. Then you'd have the customer sign for it if they were there. If not, you'd leave a note, bring it back, and get the clerk to sign for it from you. So there was a lot of follow through on registered mail. On insured and certified was nothing like that. And I ended up at the last I had mainly mounted routes, and most everybody now is on a mounted route. Very few walking routes. All of it's mounted here in Holly Springs, either on a blue road box on the street or in your gang box up the way. So that's basically like it was. And the dogs would chase you, and the dogs would bite you. I never got a dog did though, because they all loved me. But I tell you one thing I used to do. Don't write this down. I'm sure people do. People have door slots This is what Tamara was talking
Oh, yeah,
about.
I remember.
And I don't remember where that would have been. Maybe that,
Kenna might know.
yeah, she.
I bet Chris might
I
know.
bet Chris would know. But anyway, a lot of houses would have mail slots. I hated mail slots because it was hard to get the mail in. It's not like putting it in a mailbox on my house or out on the rural. But anyway, and then in the house they'd have dogs, and the dogs would, putting mail in the mail slot would drive a dog nuts. But the thing is, if you weren't aware of it and you come up and you started putting the mail in the door slot, the dog would hit that and it would scare the heck out of you. I got scared a lot of times. But then as I learned the route and knew where the dogs were, I said, this dog's going to hit the door and want to get this mail. And so I would put the mail in and hold on to it, and let the dog get up to the box and start chomping on the mail, and he and I would have a tug of war. And that happened a lot. And I would end up losing the mail, but that was my job, was to deliver it right. But it was the dog's fault. It ended up being all torn to shreds. And so what I wanted people to do was put a mailbox out on their house, and then I wouldn't have to fight with the dog. That never happened, but I always fought with the dog. Anyway, I like to do that. So that was the most exciting part. We started carrying dog spray, mace. Didn't have that when I first started carrying mail. But I never had trouble with dogs.
When did the Cold War begin?
The Cold War began after World War II, and Winston Churchill, who was the Prime Minister of England, during a speech, he's the one that talked that generated the term the Iron Curtain, and that it happened right after World War II, where Germany was divided up into 4 sectors: the Russian sector, the French, the English, and the U.S. And Berlin was right in the center, and so there were same quarters there. But Berlin was in the middle of the Russian sector, and so initially, after the war, they were able to bring rations in down the highway or on tracks on the train. Well, the Russians, and it wasn't even quite the Soviet Union then. When at the end of the war, Russia started taking over countries, because Russia during the war, Russia was a country, but at the end of the war, Russia took over Poland, took over Czechoslovakia, took over Romania, took over Estonia, Lithuania, and whatever. All of the European countries that were rescued by Russia from the Germans, because the Germans had captured these towns, they were all taken over by the Russians. So anyway, Berlin's right here in the center, and the 4 countries had parts of Berlin, like there's an East Berlin and a West Berlin. Well, East Berlin was for the Soviet Union, was picked up by Russia. West Berlin was the United States, France, and England. So anyway, you truck the supplies in to Berlin. Well, Russia stopped that. They shut down the roads, and that started the Berlin airlift. But that was the start of the Cold War. And the Berlin airlift, they were flying. I think what I hear is they had a plane landing in Berlin on the airport, one every 30 seconds. They were coming in, bam, 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 every 30 seconds. 24 hours a day. That went on for, I forget how long. You can probably find out on the Google it here in a little bit. But finally, Russia relented and said, this is ridiculous. But a very nice story, in my opinion. They were flying over, and one pilot, and this was on 60 Minutes the other night. I like 60 Minutes. Tonight on 60 Minutes, by the way, tomorrow night, 60 Minutes, there's something on the basketball player, I think, an autistic basketball player. That was on the news last night, and I think if you have an opportunity to watch 60 Minutes, I think you'd like that.
Did you hear what happened yesterday, though?
I'm afraid to ask.
A football player who was a
Baltimore Ravens.
defensive back for the Baltimore Ravens, Trey Walker. Yeah, Trey Walker. He died last night.
Oh, from what?
Car accident.
Oh, come on.
It was not yesterday morning, but Thursday morning. He was
I hate
in
that.
an
And
accident.
anybody. I tell you what really hurts me is when I see the policemen
Mhm.
being killed, but also there's lots of them killed in auto accidents. And a lot of them being killed on out writing a ticket. And somebody is coming along and they don't pull over. They're not doing it on purpose, but they're drawn to and they kill them. Yeah, you're right. That's sad. But anyway, this thing tonight is an autistic boy who was a helper for the basketball team, and he ended up during the last game of the year. He had been their helper, you know, and they let him play in the last quarter, I guess, and they didn't expect him to do anything, but they let him take a shot, and he took a 3-pointer and swished, and then
Oh yeah, I know which one.
he did it again and swish. And he ended up doing it about 10 times that every one of them swished. And anyway, I think, and the whole crowd went wild. It was very emotional to me. It was so neat. And now he is an assistant coach on the team as an adult. That's what's going to be on the show tonight on 60 Minutes. But they show him, making that, shooting that ball. Tell you, it was so exciting. I get so emotional about junk like that. Tears come to my eyes. It's so emotional. I really enjoy that. I enjoy seeing people have trouble being successful. So that's it. How do we get off on that?
You're saying something about a good story during the Cold War.
Oh yes.
After-
Oh yeah. I'm glad you remember that. You are listening. He gets an A+ on listening.
I know. Good job, Zachary.
I'm happy you did.
See, I'm a
that.
good listener.
This guy's flying these in, and he flies in, and he sees children around the fences, standing on this where the flight they're coming in. He does this so often. He comes in, you know, like he really makes, and he goes, what the heck? And he threw some gum out at him, and it hit it. I get emotional about this one too. He came back the next time, and there's more kids there, and so. Anyway, it went on and on like that, and he got others to it, and so they got to where there were hundreds and hundreds of kids out there, and other pilots were throwing them out, and so America got a good name out of that, you know. And he was able to talk to some of these later on, and how thrilled they were, and how good it did them their spirits and things, because these are kids that had been. It was very difficult on young people, German kids.